Alright folks, so yesterday I showed you a video on how we can take static meshes that are pre-built assets from some other resource. We combine them together and we converted all of these individual static meshes into a single static mesh, which now is a group, and it's a single static mesh that we can use within our Unreal project. This is a really nice way to take existing assets and put them together to create your own assets. I'm going to take it one step further today, and what we're going to do is we're going to export this independent static mesh, the single one, and we're going to export it to an FBX file. We're going to modify it within Blender and adjust the material slots that are associated with this, and then we're going to re-import it back into Unreal and use it in our scene. So this will show you the workflow that allows you to take existing assets, tweak them to your liking, or create something new from, something that was already pre-existing, and then just understanding that workflow using Blender. I do this a lot. It saves me a ton of time because I'm not a professional modeler in any of the tools that are out there, whether it's Maya, Blender, and so using pre-existing assets is an important part of my game development life cycle. All right, going back to this, we are going to click on our asset. We're going to right click. We are going to go to, what am I doing here? This is not where I wanted to do this. No, it's not. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. Okay. Here we go. So, we're going to go to the asset within here. This is why I was having a hard time. This is our combined asset. You right click on it and you do asset actions and export. So here, I'm going to export it to static mesh fort wall. Save that. I just use the defaults here. Okay. Export that, and we're good to go. So now we are going to switch over to Blender. Okay. So I have Blender opened up here, and I'm going to import the static, the FBX that we just created. All right. So choose import FBX. I'm going to go to my downloads directory, and here is our static mesh fort wall FBX. All of this stuff, I just use the defaults, import that in. All right. And let's take a look at this. Looks a little bit crazy. UCX. I think this is the collision that is associated with it. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Yes. So now that the simple collision is gone, you can see that this looks like our mesh that we had within the Unreal Engine. All right. So now that that is in place, what I want to show you is if you select this object, right, in Blender it's a right click to select the object. Then we're going to go into edit mode. Okay. So when you're in edit mode, you can see all of the different vertexes and all of the faces associated with our mesh. This is the mode that we're going to be using when we're assigning the different material slots to this. So let me show you what I mean by material slots. So to select and deselect, you hit the A button. So A selects all, unselects all. And what I'm going to do is over here on the right side, you can click on the materials. And what you see is these are the material slots that were imported for this asset, right? This imported FBX. Now, if you want to, you can delete all these and start over again. And I think just for experience, that's what I'm going to do. So I am going to remove, unable to remove material slot in edit mode. All right, well, you would think edit mode would be how you would want to remove it, but whatever. I'll switch it to object mode and then I'll try to remove. And sure enough, it allows me to do it. Okay, fantastic. So now I have no material slots. And just to be safe, I'm going to save a copy of this and I will call it Fort Wall Blend. Okay, we'll save that. All right, so now that we have that, what I'm going to do now is I am going to create the different material slots that I want to use for this asset. And by doing that, it will allow me to assign different faces of this mesh to those material slots. So I'm going to do new, and I'm going to call it stone wall. Okay, so here we go. Stone wall. We're good. Then I'm going to add another. Yeah, okay, so I add another slot. I'm going to create a new material here. And I am going to call this, let's see, wood post. Okay, so this is going to be for the wooden posts on the side. I'm going to add another material slot. It's going to be called, this is for the stones along the top. So I'm going to call this stone edging, or stone edge. How about that? Great. Then I'm going to create one more, and this is going to be for the ceiling or the flooring. So I'm going to call this wood flooring. Now what's funny is I shouldn't even name it wood or stone, because technically they could apply any material that they wanted to, but for our case it'll work out just fine. I could have just called it wall, post, edge, and floor. That probably would have made more sense, but anyway. Moving on. So now that we have, I'm going to go ahead and save. So now that we have our material slots, what we need to do is we need to assign all of the faces of our mesh to those material slots. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, and another thing that I'd like to do is we're going to add some additional geometry to this mesh so that we kind of customize it and make it our own. So what I'm going to do then, right now, just for grins, is I'm going to go to the Create tab, and I'm just going to create some simple cubes. And I'm going to apply it, and so it's going to look like some wood beams are sticking out of the stone wall. So we're just going to do one of those. So I'm going to do cube. Okay. So now we have a cube that is sticking out. Okay. And it's a little big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale that down. So it's pretty simple. You hit S, and then as you move your mouse, you can scale it down. So I'm going to do it right about the size of what our other pillar looks like. And just, you know, as an example, this will look like a random beam is sticking out through here, okay? And no biggie. So I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to hold the shift key down, and I'm going to select the other item. Whoops. Let's see. Okay, so now they are both selected. You hit the Control J, and now they are both combined together. So now if I edit this, if I select this object and I do edit, okay, you see that this object is all one model. They're not separate from each other, and that's exactly what I wanted. So okay, so now that these are joined together, what we're gonna do is start assigning to our materials. So I click back on the materials tab, and here are our 4 material slots. So what you do is you're going to select the faces that you want assigned to the material slot. So I'm going to start with stone wall. That's probably the easiest one, right? So I think to start off, just to be really easy about it, actually I'm going to do something a little different, because I find that these are the hardest ones to do. So these edge pieces can be very tedious to go through and select. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the faces using the A key, right? So now I've selected everything. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the stone edge slot, and I'm going to assign, by clicking the assign button, all of those faces to stone edge. Now, we're going to update the other ones, but the edge pieces are by far the hardest ones to go through and select, because you got to get all sides. So this just took the hard work and made it a lot easier. I just selected everything, assigned them, and now I'm good to go. So now what I'm going to do is go back and let's do the stone wall faces, okay? So I'm going to hit A to deselect everything. This is really easy. So what you do is select the circle tool, okay? You could just hit the C hotkey if you wanted. And what you do is you just select all the faces that are going to be the stone face. So now that I've selected that, okay, I'm going to rotate it, back up a bit, hit the C key, okay. Now we go back and we're just going to go through and select each one of these. Very good. Okay, I'm going to rotate. Now we're going to select everything over here on this face. Now remember, this is the stone wall. So this is everywhere that we want stone to be showing through. Now you notice I'm not going to select that part, because we are going to take that and we are going to make it a wood beam. Okay, hit the C key again. I'm going to go through and select these. Now you'll see I selected something that I didn't want to over here. That's that inside edge. So very simply, you hold the shift key, highlight it, and then select it, and it deselects it. Okay? All right. So now looking at our model, we've selected all of the faces that we want our stone wall to show through on. So what do? I make sure that the material slot I've selected is stone wall, and I click assign. Okay? So now we've assigned all those faces to the stone wall. All right. So now hit A twice to select everything and then deselect. Now we're going to work on we already did the stone edge. Now let's do the wood post. So again, these are pretty simple. So we're going to hit the C key. I'm going to select all of the faces that are associated with the post. And then I'm going to rotate it around. Now you'll notice you have these inside seams here, right? You want to make sure that you get those. So select this. Okay, I got that. Again, I select something I didn't want to. Just highlight that. Okay. This side we also have a seam. So hit the C key. Now, if you're a real Blender wizard, I'm sure there's probably a better way to do this. Let me just check to make sure that I am recording the right thing. Thank God. Okay. Very good. Well, while I'm at it, I'm just going to go ahead and finish this one off. I'm going to do the top over here. Okay. Now, while I can get at it from this angle, I'm going to select some of these pieces of that post so I don't have to worry about that later. Okay. All right. Select the C key again. Get these parts right here. While I can see this side, I'm going to go ahead and just try to select as many parts of the other posts that I can see. It'll speed up my my working. All right. Let's do this part here. Okay, very good, very good. Got that. Let's get this part over here. All right. Got this inside edge on the left. Need to make sure we get him. Okay, and okay, I selected a little too much there. No big deal. Hold the shift key down and left click and it unselects that. Very good. Okay. Let's check this inside edge. Looks like that's not selected. Hit the C key. Perfect. Got that one. Okay, so now, oh, I missed this side. Let's get this taken care of. Got that. Okay, I selected a little too much. That's okay. Left click and select and we're good. All right. So now I have all of my wooden beams. I'm not going to worry about the bottom. No one's ever going to see that. So I'm not going to do that. All the tops are selected. We look good. So what do? We make sure the wood post material slot is selected and we say assign. Okay. And now that those are assigned, I'm going to save. Last thing I'm going to do is deselect everything. Okay. And we're going to do the wood floor. So I select the wood floor material slot. Okay. I'm going to hit my C key and we're just going to select everything here. Assign it. Oh, I have to deselect this. We're going to assign the wood floor material slot. We're going to assign these faces to there. Okay. That's not what I wanted to do. Whoops. Okay. All right. So now we've assigned all of our faces except for one piece, and that was our post sticking out. So what I'm going to do is hit the A key to deselect. Okay. And then I'm going to select all of the faces on this post here. So C key to select. I'm going to pick that. that. I got to get from a different angle. Okay. Select again. Pick that and that. Now, all of these faces are selected. I'm going to go to my wood post. Okay, that's the same as this. And I'm going to click assign. Okay, so now we definitely have assigned everything. And the way you can check it is, so if you go over here, you hit A couple times, deselect everything. What you can do is you can check your work by saying, click on the stone wall and say select. And if you look at your model, you see all of the stone wall pieces are selected. Then you say deselect, okay? Then I can go to wood post and say select. And you see all of the posts are selected. And you should also see, yes it is, that our little post sticking out through the wall is also selected. Very good. Stone edge, same thing. Select. All of our edges are selected. That's very good. Deselect, and let's check our last thing, the wood floor. We select that, and everything looks good. All right. Now, we have fully assigned and selected all of our materials. Now, there's one more thing that we need to do here is this object now, because we've modified its geometry, does not have the correct UV mapping. And so what we need to do is unwrap this one more time to make sure that all of the faces are correctly UV unwrapped. Now I'm going to use the simplest way of doing this, which is the auto unwrap. So what I do here is I select all of the faces with the A key. I'm going to go down to here. I'm going to go to UV unwrap, and I'm going to do unwrap. Okay? And that should handle our UV unwrapping. We'll find out soon enough. All right, let me save this. I am going to get out of edit mode. I'm going to select my object. Okay, it was already selected. And I am going to go to File. We're going to export this to an FBX. I'm going to export it to an FBX called Fort Wall FBX. Yeah. Okay, that is done. Now I'm going to switch back over to the Unreal Engine. I'm going to take that and I'm going to drag it into the Unreal Engine so that we can import this asset. I'm going to leave all the defaults. I am not going to import the textures. I say import, and here we go. Here is our asset. Now, let me pull this up here for you. Here is our asset that we've created, and if you look at it, it looks pretty good. If you look over here, you see that we have 4 material slots. Now, the one thing I don't really care for, and I don't know why this is, but when you import from Blender, we assign material slot names to those things. When it comes into the Unreal Engine, it doesn't use the name. It's just element 0, 1, 2, 3. But if you remember back in our Blender example, let me pull this up here real quick. We had stone wall, wood post, edge, and floor. So wall, post, edge, and floor. That translates to wall, post, edge, and floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our content browser. If I look at the assets from some of our earlier things, I can find these in our content browser. So for example, Castle Wall, okay? So if I go to Fort Wall and I'm gonna select this, now you see that our castle wall is filled in, right? So on both sides you see castle wall. Now one thing you will notice is that there's some tiling going on here. And I suspect this is how the assets are being unwrapped. Let's assign the rest of them and maybe we can figure out why that happened. Next thing is we're going to do the wall details. Select that. And I'm going to assign that to... Nope, that's the wrong one. That's the post. Yep, there's the wall details. The second one is the post. So I'm going to find that. Actually, yeah, this one was called wood details. That looks a lot better, right? Beautiful. Now, what you'll see is we assign that wood details, but look right here. The UV mapping is off on this one. Okay, so we are going to have to fix some things here. All right, next part is, the very last part is the wood flooring, and I'm going to assign that to this instance. Okay. And here we go. So that looks pretty good. So overall, we look pretty good. There are some things that I don't care for. It looks like there's some wrapping of the walls, and it also looks like the UV unwrap from this post sticking through here is not accurate either. So let's go figure out why that is. All right, I'm back. So if you recall from earlier, the UV unwrapping for this particular feature right here, this post sticking out, was not looking accurate. And so we're back in Blender and we're going to fix this, and I'm going to show you a little bit about UV unwrapping. So what you can do is the way you tell what a texture is going to look like unwrapped on your mesh is we're going to drag out another window. So you grab this little section up here, you click and hold, and you drag out another window over here. And so now we see the 3D model, and then down here we're going to switch to UV image editor. Okay, and if you do the shift home key, so view all or view fit, shift home, what this is showing you is that for the selected image up here, or the selected face, it shows you where on the texture it's going to be rendering that particular picture. So for example, the wooden post is what we're looking at right now. So it's a little hard, you can't see the image. So what we're going to do is you can select an image by saying open image, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find the image that we're using to wrap this texture. And when I do that, I'm going to pick it right here. So when I do that, I'm going to go back to view and do view fit. Okay. So now here is our wooden image, and this is where that section, that square part over here, is going to apply. That's where it's going to pull that image from, right? So again, this is how we are mapping our post onto the actual image. Now, right now you can't see it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this to material or texture mode. Sorry. So when I switch it to texture, all of a sudden you can see that for the selected face, this is where that texture is pulling from. And the cool part is, what you can do is you can select a vertice over here, and if you right click, and then if you drag it, now look on the left side, you can see that this is changing the UV mapping for this particular item. So you can move it around the way that you want to. So I can do, let's say, this, and let go. Now we've custom UV mapped this particular portion, right? Now, because it's a square, I probably should make this square over here. So that's what I'm going to do. A little bit like this, or at least as close as I can get to a square. Great, I grab that one, grab this one. A little tedious. Okay. All right, well, without being too much of a perfectionist, I think you get the idea. It's pretty close, right? All right. I think that's as good as I'm going to get it. Now, let's look at this one. So now over here, I select another face. And what you see happen is that if I do the view fit, this did not unwrap correctly. And so back here, I'm going to select our wood image again. I don't know why this keeps resetting, but I'm going to do the Shift Home key. And what you see is that this is not wrapping correctly at all. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the vertex down here, and I'm going to drag it back up here. Okay. I'll show you what this is doing. And you'll notice on the left side, now we're starting to get a an image be created. Okay, see, starting to look a little better. Okay, got that, and let's do the last one. Oh my goodness, this is harder. Okay, so there is our wooden beam. It's not perfect. I'm sure someone who's a real pro at this would do better. But let's go ahead and select this face. Same issue. I don't know why that keeps resetting. I find that kind of annoying, but again, maybe somebody can help me with that. I'm going to see if I can, is there a way to like automatically unwrap this? Maybe if I do E and unwrap it. Ah, yes. So when I did the E button, that automatically unwrapped it. Interesting. Let's select this one, and I'll just do E for unwrap again. Yeah, that's not working. Let's see. Okay. So this one unwrap. Oh, I see what it did. Oh, it's taking the entire thing. That's what it did. See that? Look at this right here. So here is the unwrapping for that face. It just took the entire texture, which I definitely do not want. So I am going to grab these. This is a terrible unwrapping job, but in the end, it's going to look better than what it looked like before. And this is why you use other people's assets, because challenging is the right word. Okay. Okay. So there is our unwrapped thing. We have one more to do. Select the bottom, and I'll just go E for unwrap. It puts the There we go. And again, it seems to be using the entire texture, which I don't want. This is the wrong texture. Yeah, this is the texture that I want. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll grab this and we'll just put down somewhere in here. Okay. I'm not gonna strive to even make this close. I'm sure there's some stuff I'm missing. But anyway, here we go. We've now mapped this and UV mapped it much better than it was before. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this. Okay. I'm gonna save this. I am going to export this again. So export to FBX. I'm going to make it call Fort Wall, same as we did before. I'm going to switch back to Unreal Engine. I'm going to pull up my Fort Wall thing, and here you go. You can see that the UV mapping for our post was not correct. So what I'm going to do is re-import this this mesh, and you see the magic is there. It is. So now we have our wooden post sticking out assigned to our texture, and it looks great, right? So perfect, no, but is it doing you know, does it give you the idea? Yes, it does. So that is what we've done. We've exported our asset. We have modified it. We've created material slots for all the things. We've assigned those material slots, and then we re-imported it back in with a custom UV mapping for our new material around this geometry for our post sticking out of the wall. And that's it. So now the only thing left to do is I'm going to browse to here. I'm going to grab this, go to our default scene. I'm going to drag it in here. Okay. Move it over a bit. Come down. So if you recall, these were our individual static meshes. This was the mesh that we combined within the Unreal Engine. And now, if I take this and I rotate it around the Z-axis, we will see, ta-da! Here is our wooden post sticking out right here, and super cool. So a simple example, but this just shows you all of the things that you're capable of doing. It is it's time consuming, and like I said, I'm not an expert in this, but I've done enough that I'm functional, and I wanted to pass that along to you. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. I'm trying to grow my channel, and if you have any recommendations or tutorials that you'd like to see created to help you in your journey in the Unreal Engine, I'd be happy to do that for you. Take care and have a great day.